Hey everyone, Ron the Incoherent here. Today I'm going to be doing something a little different. You're not going to be getting Germania, instead we're going to be doing this. I'm going to talk about the patch notes, such as they are, it's not much, but I'm also going to talk about a bunch of smaller subjects involving game balance and the tier list that aren't really suitable for a video on their own, but as a collection of random thoughts, I think they're probably worth a video together. So before I get into the theory crafting and game discussion, let's look at this patch. And most of the stuff at the start, stability, localization, audio, and visuals, that's all nice. It's not important to me, I'm glad they're improving them. But realistically, what I really care about is the AI campaign and battle changes. The big two are these. I've never even interacted with compensation. I haven't actually seen the option to demand compensation. I've only seen the meme video by Spiffing Brit about it, but it's a good thing for them to be rebalancing it since it was completely broken when that video got launched. Now this is what I really care about. There is an issue where if you tell your units to attack in a siege, they will sometimes turn 90 degrees to the right and begin moonwalking while they get slaughtered. It's absolutely infuriating, and I'm only grateful that it hasn't happened to me in battles that were important. There's another issue that happens constantly, and it hasn't messed me up yet, but it is incredibly annoying, and your units will just constantly shuffle around in siege battle. They'll become thicker or thinner in formation than you told them to, they'll sometimes just go to the wrong place entirely. I'm not sure how much of that this really fixes, but any of that getting fixed is incredibly good, and I'm glad to see movement in the right direction. Now I've got a couple of thoughts I want to mention involving the tier list. The first of them is about the Seleucid Empire. I was remembering them as they were in Rome Total Realism, and I knew that, but I didn't realize just how much they had changed. In the base game, as the Seleucids, you have almost no infrastructure. In fact, let me show you. So let me start this by saying, the Seleucids are probably still a poster child for B tier. However, they are so much worse than I remembered. They're so much closer to the bottom of B tier than the top. Because as you go around their lands, you might notice something missing. They are one of the only factions in the game that starts with no standing army. And you might think, oh, that's fine. As the Seleucids, surely you can make a standing army pretty quickly. Maybe your garrisons are good. Well, militia hoplites, peasants. Peasants, militia hoplites, militia cavalry, that's better. Militia peltasts, we're getting somewhere. No, these are actual peltasts. Suppose militia peltasts would be too terrible a joke unit. Militia hoplites, and the story repeats itself. You're not going to see anything but those four units. Hoplites, peasants, javelinmen, and mounted javelinmen. The lowest tier of everyone in the game. We have not that many family members either. We have, it looks like 5 of them across all of this land, and none of them are close enough to really join together to make some sort of doom stack. The big thing is when you go to look at your recruitment tab, those are also the only units you can recruit. You don't have any standing army or any infrastructure as this faction at the start of the game. And that is insane to me. Meanwhile, if you actually look at Parthia, Armenia, and Scythia, the horse archer factions, every single one of them starts with like 6 horse archers and the infrastructure to produce more in every city. So all of the horse archer factions are probably much stronger than I was giving them credit for, and horse archer tier looks like it might be a real thing. Whereas the Seleucids, I'm pretty sure are still a B tier faction. Like, I'm pretty sure what you do is you just build infrastructure in this area, push down as hard as you can through Egypt, and just try to make these wars long and slow for your enemy while you get better armies. But yeah, your militia army is not going to do shit to these horse archer factions north of you. So Seleucia is a lot weaker than I thought they were. And speaking of, look, Dacia probably shouldn't be an A tier, I'm going to be real with you. They could probably start off the game by killing Thrace and becoming the United Kingdoms of Thrace and Dacia, and then fighting for the Balkans, which is a strong position to be in. But I remember them as having hoplites, just like Thrace, and they don't. And that makes them a lot worse. Simultaneously, their ability to push through these rebels and conquer Rome, like, yeah, that's a thing they can do, but compared to Gaul and Germany doing that, they are so much worse. So while I underestimated Germany and think they're almost certainly A tier, they're just cheap Macedon, Dacia is not quite as good as I remember them being. They're probably just slightly worse Thrace, and Thrace is a faction that might be struggling to be an A tier faction after all. So something I wanted to test was how good traders and dirt roads actually are. They seem genuinely fucking terrible every time I've looked at how much income they give me. But to actually test that, you need trade agreements with people, and you need to have a lot of cities simultaneously doing the test so that you can normalize it across the board. And unfortunately, that's a thing where in the future, I'm going to stop a campaign, create a save file, and test it then. I can't really test it very effectively at the start of a campaign. However, something I can test right now is some battle ballots. Specifically, I saw somebody saying that they were experiencing phalanxes losing to hoplites in the forums. And that blows my mind. That should never happen. Specifically, he said his armored hoplites were getting destroyed, or rather, armored hoplites were destroying. I want to say he was using silver shield pikemen, but I'm just going to use basic bitch pikemen, and I feel like they should win. Just because their spears are longer, they have more men. It seems bizarre to me that they could somehow lose. Now, this may very well be a situation like General's Cavalry versus Militia Hoplites, where I'm sending... These aren't levy pikemen, good. These are your most basic pikemen, your Hastati equivalent. And I'm just going to send them to go fight this hoplite. Well, not from downhill, obviously. But I have more men with longer spears. I should just crush them. So the fact that people in the forums are saying this loses confuses me deeply. And I've also made sure that I'm the attacker, because if anyone has the advantage here, it's going to be the defenders. Oh man, this is so frustrating. Every time I turn them, it forgets they've been turned. Okay, so now they should work correctly, and I can just walk into the enemy. And since I've got it in range of their spears, this should be a loss. What I've done negates my benefit here. I should get fucking destroyed. Yeah. So let's do that again with me playing it correctly. The game seems unsure whether or not I'm fighting, but I am losing stamina because of this, so... Alright. I was just going to move them up to the enemy and wait to get to fresh, but apparently if you get anywhere near them, sometimes the game freaks out and starts losing fatigue and trying to fight. Okay, we're up to fresh, so what we're going to do is we're going to step just little bit by little bit forward. And now we're actually stabbing, but it looks like we're stabbing both ways. So I'm going to pull this back just a little bit. And you can see that this is very dumb right now. We need to be a little bit further forward. And right now, no one's stabbing. We're all just, you know, footing around. And it looks like Phalanx Pikemen and Hoplite Pikemen might actually have the same range in this. Because there's actually not a range where my spears are meaningfully longer and I'm getting to hit them, but they aren't getting to hit me. Actually, that's untrue. It looks like I've managed to do exactly that. Anytime I mess up, whoever's too far forward just dies, and then it solves itself, and we're at the right range. So yes, you are able to win fights versus actually better hoplites with your pikemen, because they have much longer spears. But you have to make sure that you're not pushing into them, that you're either just stopping in front of them, or they're pushing into you.
The gods be praised! The enemy general is dead! His men know their doom approaches.
So I feel pretty confident that the guy who was losing on the internet was actually just controlling the units wrong. However, I want to check quickly if I'm the defender, do I still win? If the enemy just tries to walk into me, do I actually hold them off?
Waiting for orders.
Going to exit battle? Allegedly, I was the defender, but I wasn't being attacked, and I'm now deeply confused. Unfortunately, I lost the footage for this, so I have to do this commentary in post, and I don't have the relevant footage to show you. But what I did was I tested, as the defender, what would happen against all the 2 health hoplites with all the top tier phalanxes. And it looks like very consistently, if you're being attacked by 2 health hoplites, they just have the ability to get in close and kill your phalanx before they die because of the second hit point. And because of that, since there are no 2 health phalanxes, 2 health hoplites more or less hard counter any phalanx, and it's kind of ridiculous. I understand why it's happening, but much like watching a general charge through a phalanx, it's disgusting, and it's basically mechanically the exact same thing that's happening. A unit that should be losing is surviving the initial blows and then getting the advantage once it has the position. And even on the battles where the AI is the defender, most of the time they aren't going to be standing perfectly still like they were in this custom battle. So I actually do think that phalanxes are countered by 2 health hoplites, though they do destroy 1 health hoplites. Something else I also lost the footage for was attempting to test how war dogs would work if I tried to use them in a battle. I was fighting relatively small infantry armies against each other, where the other army would have 2 more units of infantry to represent the 2 turns it would take me to make my war dogs. I would try to use them to flank or do various things, and consistently I found that I would much rather have had 2 units of cavalry. If anyone has any suggestions on how to use war dogs effectively, I would love to hear it, because they really do feel like a meme unit, and I don't see how to make them better than anything else I could have built. Anyway, this has been rather Incoherent, and I hope you've enjoyed this brief intermission from our normal campaigns. Germania will be back tomorrow. If you liked the video, then like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. It really helps the channel grow, and I'll see you around.